morning, everyone. My name is Molly Courtson. I'm the city's communications officer, and today we're joined by Kelly Howell. This is actually our first episode of season 3, so thank you for tuning in for all these seasons, or if this is your first time here, welcome to the podcast. But Kelly Howell is actually our current eSTEM director over at ERHS. She's also a board member for Corona Regional Hospital, and she was on our very first city council. So a lot of exciting things to talk about, and we're really excited to have you here.
Yeah, thank you. Happy to be here.
Do you have anything you want to add?
Community volunteer, I will say that all of those positions are one thing besides the day job. It's community volunteerism.
Well, thank you for all you do for the community. It's been exciting to get to know you the last few years. So we're going to ask you some fun get to know you questions before we jump in to the real stuff.
Sounds good.
Okay.
And
so,
scary.
And scary, yes. Yes. Okay. They won't be too bad. So what item do you hope will be obsolete in 20 years?
Ooh, they're stumping me this early. Exercising. Because, that's so much work. Can't I just have all the reward? The health, it's a lot of work to do, right? You want to have the good health and all of that, but we know it takes a lot of work, and it would be great if we just had that without exercising.
I love that answer. I feel everyone who's watching that is going to be like, yeah, I agree. I don't think anyone's going to be like, no, I need that. Like, I think there's some enjoyment in it, but the time and energy, and also when you go to work all day and then you go home and you're like, and now I need to do something else.
Yeah, it's the fitting it in. It's not that I don't love it. It's just fitting it in with everything.
Yes. I know. I always see like fitness influencer people, and they're like, oh, make sure you get into the gym. And I'm like, if this was my job, I bet you I would be there. But
I would knock that out 120%, right?
Oh my gosh, yeah, I'd spend 6 hours there too, but I got to go somewhere else. And then, Okay, I love the answer. Next, do you prefer talking on the phone or texting?
Texting for sure.
Okay. Are you good at response, or do you have like a lot of unanswered texts?
Oh, I would definitely say I have some unanswered texts, but some of them are like a chain of conversations where I don't need to really reply, but sometimes it happens where you have to wait.
Well, that's good. I am like very well known for being like the most horrific texter. I have like hundreds of unanswered text messages.
Oh, I that's a lot.
No,
she's popular.
No, I'm not. I don't even know what it is. I feel like, how like there's some that are chain. Some people are like reaching out and you're like, oh, I'll like respond after work, right? Or I'll like, I don't know. It just gets away from me. And then I'm like, then I go back to look and I'm like, well, now it's been so long. I can't respond to it now.
Right.
It's very bad. Okay, last question. This is my favorite question I feel I've ever asked somebody on the podcast. What is something ridiculous that you wish was illegal?
Illegal?
Yes.
Oh.
Like not something like serious, but just something like you see and you're like, oh my gosh, I wish that was illegal because I don't want to see it.
Oh, that's interesting. Wish it was illegal. Okay, I'm gonna kind of spin it. It's not really ridiculous. My kids eat so much candy and I love it, but I would love to tell them like, you're gonna go to candy jail if you keep eating that much. It's against the law, you guys. So I like candy jail, maybe. Okay, that would be a good one.
Okay, I like that.
We definitely have some big sweet tooths in my house, and I'm gonna say it definitely was inherited from me.
Mine would be like playing music out loud. Like, when you're. So I was thinking about this because I was hiking Rubidoux the other day. I guess it's more of like a walk, but anyway. And all these people were playing their music like on their speakers out loud, and it's like everyone's clashing, and then it's music I don't want to hear. And I felt I'll be like at the mall and people are playing their music out loud, and I'm like, you don't have headphones?
I would agree with that.
I wish it were illegal to
pay attention to people around you.
Exactly. Well, thank you for answering the fun questions. I'm going to ask you some real ones now. So, as we both know, Eastvale incorporated in 2010. Okay, we're coming up on our 15-year anniversary, actually, which is really exciting. And you were on our very first city council. So I wanted to ask you, were you, like, how did that come about? Like, were you always planning to run? Was being in office something you dreamed about? Now you're not on the council. Would you ever think about running for office again? Like, kind of give me a little bit of backstory.
It's a really interesting story, and I talk to my students about it sometimes about go out and volunteer, and really that's how it started. I volunteered. I showed up to a town hall meeting, which people in the community were very involved back then, and they were running town hall meetings to have our government agencies come in and talk to them about what's going on. So some great giants of the community were there before me. And they said, hey, we should become a city. Let's have some volunteers come forward and look into incorporation of the city. And so I just said, Sure. I was really young and had the time, motivated. I was in school and becoming a teacher. And I said, "Yeah, I'll volunteer for it." And little did you know, it took me down 7 years of working with some wonderful people, learning a lot, incorporating the city. And then once the city was incorporated, it really became who's going to run the city, the first city council, right, to set it up, which is very different than from how it is now.
Yeah.
And that is when I decided, okay, I spent this many years working on it. It's kind of hard to give something away when you know it so well.
Poor baby.
So I said, let's just go on the first city council and get it off to the right start. Yeah.
That's such a fun story. So
Yeah.
talk to me. Okay, now you're not on the council anymore. Of course,
Mhm.
you finished. Do
Yeah.
you feel like you'll go back, or were you like, I was just trying to help it get off the ground and I'm done?
At the time, it was hard because I was balancing so much work. I was going to administration of schools, and then I ended up having kids. So I have 3 wonderful children. And when you're balancing all that and you're trying to do public service, that's a lot, right? So at that time, I had to give it to someone else, so let them take the reins so they can devote the time necessary to it. In the future, I've never I've never said no to something, right? You don't close your mind to opportunities. So very well, I might someday run again for city council or another position, but it would be more from a community aspect, volunteering, just to be a voice in your community, not necessarily for a greater ambition.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure that being on the city council is incredibly hard. I mean, I see obviously our city council, they're going to 9,000 events, the council meetings, so many different things to show up for the community. But I couldn't imagine being on like an inaugural council because you don't know anything. There's no like jumping off point. There's no
Right.
people to kind of be like, what is going on? And can you
Yeah.
help me? And what did you do before? Because there's no before.
There's no
So,
before.
do you feel like when you got on, it was harder than you thought, or was it what you expected? How was it different?
I don't think I had any understanding or any assumption of what it could be. It was so new and I was so young and just learning from people around me. But we literally went into a leased room from one of the builders to hold the first city council meeting, and we put up a plastic folding table and chairs, and we said, okay, money's all going to be transferred from the county in 2 months. How do we start?
Yeah.
How do we start? So it was this monumental task, and us, just community members serving, had to say, let's create the government. So it was a very unique opportunity, and we were able to start the city on a great route. So we're so excited for it.
Yeah, it's so fun because we've had several people on the podcast. Like, obviously, some of our current council has been here for quite a long time now, too. And they've talked about like the beginning stages of when it was like the folding tables. And then they had it in I think it was like the Rosa Parks like cafeteria.
Yeah.
And like in the middle of the council meetings, like the milkman would like come in and like change the milk and like all these things in the middle of the meetings.
Yes.
Now we're kind of in like a little makeshift city hall. We're in like the gateway, the Eastvale Gateway.
Yep.
And in just a few years, we're finally going to have a real city hall. So I'm excited, but it's so cool to see in just a pretty short time, to be honest. Like
15 years.
going from the folding chairs to we're going to have like this very grand, beautiful, brand new city hall that will be able to like house the community. And we have so many people come in for the council meetings now, and it's packed. There's like people waiting in the hallway, people waiting outside. And so we're so excited to have a space where everyone can just sit and we're not like, okay, take shifts coming in and out.
Yes, I'm really proud of this community. To be able to run your own community from the community members here and having a staff that's committed to the goals of that community
Mhm.
is really powerful. So Eastvale's come a very long way from
We-
many hands pitching in to do it.
Mm-hmm. Well, obviously, you're not on the city council anymore, but now you are working over at the high school. You're the director over at the STEM Academy, which is so fun. And also, you're serving on some boards and doing so many other like community volunteer opportunities. So, do you want to talk to me a little bit about your role over at the high school
Yeah.
and maybe some other community stuff?
Yeah. So at Eastvale STEM Academy, I'm the director there. So I get to oversee all of the students in the STEM program at the school. We have about over 800 students in our STEM program. Next year, we'll have over 800. And we really work with all students on research. So they get a foundational knowledge of research in various fields. and as well as completing some career technical education pathways in engineering, medical, and in computer science. And it's wonderful. So we have 1,000 students on our campus. We serve all of ERHS, but and then I also oversee that program. So it's pretty cool to see amazing students do amazing things, and they're very active in the community.
That's so awesome. I'm always very impressed by the STEM Academy. Every time I go there, I feel like I'm one on a college campus. And two, I feel so dumb compared to the kids. Think they're smart. Every time I've gone to like the expo, I've gone to the last few years, or I've come to like speak to like one of the clubs or like do something there. They're like, yeah, I'm going to go to Stanford. I'm going to MIT. I'm doing this and this and this. They're like, oh, I just like discovered this new, I don't even know what. I'm like, I don't even know what you're talking about right now. It's so crazy to me, like, how smart they are, and they're, like, 15.
They are. They're pretty and they're advantageous. They find opportunities and take it, and I think that's why they're so successful is they're willing to put that risk out on, and they're willing to take opportunities.
Mhm. So how do you see, like, education in the schools and the city development, how do you see those working hand in hand?
Community was probably one of the most powerful things I learned about, and I'll say there were some community members here before me that taught me the power of community and volunteerism. Watching those people and how they would go make meals for anybody that their family went through some trouble to get them over times. Just know people cared about them in the community. And I think that that's really where it starts when you look at government. It's how are we serving each other and how are we serving the families in it and knowing your community well. So when you're looking at a city operating, you're looking at families. They're not just numbers on a paper or streets to be done. You're looking at the people, right? And same thing in school. We're looking at our program, we're looking at how to support students, but it's about each individual student and their story. So when I look at our statistics about how many kids are performing this well, who's struggling, you imagine the faces of the people. And so I think that that's what it comes back to at the end of the day is remembering the why behind it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I know I had asked you about the city council, like, being on it. Was it harder or easier than you expected? What do you feel being the director of the STEM Academy? Do you feel it's what you thought it would be?
I'd see that was another thing wasn't, it just happened.
Mhm.
I just took a position as the dean there for a while after being an administrator in a different school district at an elementary school. And sometimes you just say yes when opportunity knocks and you take it, and then things happen beautifully if your heart's in the right place. And I'll be honest, the success of the STEM Academy is because of the teachers there and the students and the families. I run things in the background, right? Making sure that things are trying to flow. But the counselors, teachers, they put their heart and souls into it. And so when you have this system of everybody on the same page of working towards a mission, that's what makes it a good program.
It's nice to hear you give credit to the teachers and administrators and all of that, because I think sometimes, obviously, when there's such a success like the STEM Academy, it's easy to be like, "Oh my gosh, thank you, everybody," and But it's good to give credit where credit is due. And my brother, he works at like a very prestigious, like, kind of charter school,
Mhm.
not even in the state, but they have, like, the craziest programs, and students come out of there, and they always will say the same thing, like, the success is the teachers, administrators, all these different people, everyone
Right.
plays a part, but you can see the students doing so well, going to these amazing schools and having such great lives and great
Mhm.
character and being great people, like, in and out of school. And I think, like you were saying, that's all due to everyone kind of playing a part in it. It's not
Right.
just, one individual person, but I think giving credit to everyone is so
It
awesome.
is really important. Yeah.
Yes, it is. And I think even here at the city too, it's, going hand in hand of the better that the school is doing, it's supporting the city. And when the city's doing well, it helps the schools and it helps the
Right.
businesses. And I think everyone kind of plays this key role and is like very intertwined. So
Yes, very much so.
awesome. Well, I wanted to ask you about some more about the eSTEM. Are there any like programs or sports or I don't know, just something that you feel is maybe underrated at the school that does not get
Mm.
the hype it should, or something you would recommend people get involved in?
I would say that follow your passion. I think a lot of times in our society, we have bias about certain groups. And I will tell you that some of the STEM students feel like they get that nerdy
Mm.
persona, right? So if you're going into STEM or sciences, you're people have a perception of you. But the reality is we have a ton of athletes in STEM.
Mhm.
And we have a variety of students with different interests. And I think if you're a student that maybe thought, hey, I could be an engineer, computer science, but you thought, oh no, my family or friends, they would never think I could do it. Put that to the side and do what you want to do. If you have an interest, go do it. Don't let those biases of whatever is out in society stop you. If you want to be in theater, be in theater. If you want to be in law enforcement, be in law enforcement. But break those barriers down and just be passionate about doing what you love. And a lot of times in high school, that's very hard for students.
Yeah.
So them knowing who they are and what they want to do is I would say do that. Know yourself, get to know yourself, spend the time thinking about yourself and what you're passionate about because you're going to spend 30 years of your life doing it
Yeah.
and you need to love it.
Mhm.
Oh.
We had, last season, we had some kids from the high school actually come on, and we titled the episode, "There is Life Outside of High School," or, like, life after high school, because
Yes.
I think people get so caught up. I mean, even I remember when I was in high school, like, you get so caught up in, like, "Oh, but is this the cool thing to do?
It'd
What
be
are people
cool.
gonna think of me?" And
Right.
but then it's like, high school is such a short blip. Obviously, you wanna enjoy it, and you wanna fit in, and you wanna have fun and have friends, but it's such a short blip of your life, and the rest of your life is about
Yes.
trying to, like, survive adulthood and figure out what you wanna do and be passionate about, and if you don't pursue something or try because maybe someone's not gonna think you're cool for the short time you're in high
Right.
school, you're gonna regret that forever, or it could put you back a few years potentially. So, I think it's such good advice, and I remember too when I was going to college and I was like, "I wanna do political science, and I wanna work in the government," and everyone around me was like, "What?" Because it's such a, like, crazy place, obviously, the government and politics and all of that can be so insane, and so everyone's like, "I don't think you should do that." And I was like, "And I get it, but I want to. This is just what I wanna do," and I've, like, worked here for the last several years, and I have loved my whole time, but I remember everyone being very confused by what I wanted to do, and I was like, "I know, but I just feel I need to do it." So, that's good advice. Do you feel like being in, like, the school realm and, like, being a teacher, being an administrator, was this always what you wanted to do?
Um, I don't think I had a set path. I was one of those students that really didn't know what they wanted to do. And so I just stepped into education, honestly, by chance and ended up loving the administration side of it,
Mm.
loving being able to orchestrate and look at the bigger system. And I'm a systems kind of person. So I like this. I like to put the systems in place so things run efficiently and serve people better. And with the city, I found I loved that as well. So strategic planning. So through the just taking a chance on things that were presented my way, I found I learned more about myself. Same thing with being at Corona Regional on the board there, watching them strategically plan and move forward with their CEO and looking at how they serve patients. I love that strategic planning
Yeah.
and being able to witness it. So I think that that's really my passion and,
Mhm.
and what I love to do. But it all came from just raising your hand at a town hall meeting to volunteer for something and you learn about yourself through those opportunities.
Yeah, I love that. I think being open-minded and just taking every opportunity and being like, "Why not? Let's
Yep.
try it out," because you never know where it's gonna take you.
Yeah.
That's such good advice. Have you, in all your career and, like, throughout your life, is there a specific, like, mentor, teacher, leader, someone that you have seen that has really impacted you?
There was a interim city manager. So I was young when I started on city council, right? Lots to learn. And the impact that this gentleman had on me was the fact that he took me under his wing and he said he actually wanted me to be a city manager
Wow.
at the time. He's like, I know you can do it. I see what you like and so on. And so he would let me go to, he told me, you need to be on the finance committee for the city. You need to learn the finances.
Yeah.
And then he would let me sit in on some staff meetings, which is not normal for city council members. City council members, they do policy and then the city staff take care of all the rest, right? So there's a boundary somewhat, right? Of making sure the city's going well, but that's the city manager's job. So he took me under his wing and he taught me a lot about the finances, strategic planning. And one of the things he told me was, what I find so fun about my job is I solve problems for people. So someone comes with a problem, and that's the beautiful part of being a city manager, is solving the problem.
Yeah.
And so really what I learned from that is, one, problem solving's fun. And two is that mentor people.
Yeah.
He didn't need to go out of his way to support me as a young city council member, but he liked me, and he just said, "Hey, I'm going to help you and I'm going to teach you."
Yeah.
So I've taken that with me every day, is when someone wants to learn something, just reach out and help them. A little bit goes a long way. He probably didn't even think it was a big deal for what he was doing for me, but it changed my whole trajectory. And it also made me think more about helping others.
Yeah.
The younger students, and having a conversations with them on the side about, what do you want to do? And encouraging them. Just encouraging. That's all we need to do. And then they'll take it.
When I was in college, I started interning at my first city. It was the city of Menifee, actually. And I had this boss, and I see her all the time. I literally just saw her. And she mentored me so much. And it wasn't even like work-wise per se. Obviously, she was teaching me about work, but it was like what to wear in a city hall. Like, how do you dress professionally? How do you approach the city council? How do you like email people in like a professional way when like you're upset with them? Like just very small things like that. And I don't think that same thing. I don't think she realized like the impact that was having on me. And I think she just thought, oh, I'm just like teaching her, very basic, simple things. But I always give her credit for so much of my career, because after that I started here at the city, and so many of the things that I know like professionally and personally are from her, and it was very, very impactful for me, and I don't think she realizes it. So it's good to have those mentors, and then it's good to be that mentor to other people too, when other people are coming up around you like, okay, what was done for me, like how can I do that for others? So yeah, that's so awesome. Well, my very last question I want to ask you, and it's the question we finish the podcast with always. The podcast was meant, or is meant, to kind of tear down some misconceptions about different roles and businesses and city council, different things like that. So is there any misconceptions that you feel you have in your job that you want to address?
I don't think there's actually, no, there is one. We have an amazing high school, and I wouldn't say it's a misconception, but I know that we have such an amazing place full of wonderful teachers, and they're there to serve students. And with a large high school, which has its constraints, right? Some of our community can get upset about the traffic and so on. But I will say that with that comes the beauty of having options for students, and we're really fortunate to have that in our community, is sports and different programs that they can all access. And so I really am proud of the work that I get to do and the work that I see there. And so I hope our community continues to be proud of it as well.
I love that answer. Yeah, I'm sure it's similar to city government. There's a lot of misconceptions for sure. And it makes sense. It's easy to get frustrated by the traffic and, some of the congestion issues, but you have to look at the flip side of what it's also bringing to the community and all the options and things it's bringing for the students. We need those things. And when I was growing up, where I grew up, it's a very small community. We only had one high school, one middle school, and a few elementary schools. And at the time, people had complained about some of the congestion, but now over the years, most of those schools have closed down actually because there wasn't enough kids. And so it's kind of like, the flip side of the coin of, you want your school to be open. Obviously, you want options, but sometimes you get so caught up in the moment, like, oh my gosh, I wish it was less busy.
Yes.
But then if that's true, it could close down the school, or it could take away a program or something.
Take away programs. But it is understandable. I know. I have to get kids to Reagan and Ramirez, and then I have to get to the high school. So I did the 3 here and drive off technically, even though the third one's me. So
anyone knows it's you.
I understand it though. I live it every day. And it doesn't mean that there's not challenges, right? And that's what I love about my job and city council and Corona Regional. There's always going to be challenges, right?
Yeah.
It's working together to solve things. So that makes it wonderful. And I'm just super happy I get to be a part of that in this community.
Well, thank you for all that you do for the community. Thank you for coming on the podcast. We appreciate you. And if anyone needs to get a hold of Kelly, text her. It seems like. Don't call her. But yeah, thank you so much for coming on, and hopefully we'll see you around soon. I'll be at the expo. I know the expo is
Oh,
popping
yes.
soon.
Our
Yeah.
expo every year is in March, and it's a wonderful community event. So if your students are interested, elementary or middle school, about STEM fields, have them come over to the expo. They will get a firsthand knowledge and hands-on activities to get in the love and passion of STEM.
Yeah, and come say I'll be there too. So come say hi to us. Let us know you saw the podcast.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you so
or
much, Molly.
yeah, thanks. Bye, guys.